Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Clayton.
And my name is James.
Game week 27 is a wrap, James. Game week 28 on the horizon. It feels like we're on the home stretch now. Even little things like I'm looking at Pete's site, FPL.team. It's all there in one window. You can see the rest of the season laid out, game week 28 through to 38. It does feel like we're on the home stretch now, coming round the bend onto the 100-meter sprint for the finish.
We are nearly at decision time. This weekend is very, very important in terms of the cup results and the draw, and then having an even better idea than we do now in terms of the projections for blanks and doubles later in the season. I've kind of been stressing to people for weeks, like before 28 is your decision time. But that doesn't mean it's now. Nobody, I mean this, nobody should be making early transfers at the moment. The information this weekend is too important, particularly as well when you got key players like Isak is flagged at the moment. So a lot to learn. Therefore, we kind of have more of a heavy focus towards the games on this rather than strategy. We will do chip strategy on Tuesday once we've got all the information. We're going to wait till Tuesday rather than Monday. I don't know when the draw is going to be, but I think Forest Ipswich on Monday night is almost the most important game of the cup weekend in terms of strategy for later on. So we're going to leave it till Tuesday. And was your game week, Clates?
It finished all right, you know. I know when we spoke on Wednesday, we were both on the same points, I think, and both had a good start. But yeah, it finished all right. 71 points all out. Game week rank just shy of 600,000, which was much needed. So that's taken me on a green arrow up to 201k now. So yeah, I feel okay 10 weeks out from the finish. Full clean sweep in defence. Gabriel 7 points, Colwill 14. You had him as well. I think we had the same three defenders, and Trent 6 pointer in there. I obviously went captain Cole Palmer, which we spoke about on Wednesday, but I had Clivert's 10 pointer in there, Bumo's 5, Salah 6, Bowen 6. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. And Jao Pedro's
It's
8 pointer.
nothing to talk about from that game last night, but we'll get there at the end.
Yeah, but that was my returns. 71 points. Happy with that. How did you get on in the end?
We up to about 200k now.
Yeah, just said up to 201k, which I think is a fine position. I mean,
Of course it
chips,
is.
yeah, chips
And
wise, I've
you've
got wild card and bench boots left.
you've used Arseman, haven't you?
I have,
You're probably going to be penciling bench boost 33.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm looking at free hit. Oh, sorry, yeah, I've got free hit as well. I'm looking at free hit 34 myself.
yeah, makes sense. I just to reiterate something I've been saying about my fears about wildcard game week 30 that I know a lot are looking at. I'll reiterate what I said on my stream yesterday for those who might not have heard it. I think most people will land okay in game week 30, whether you're free hitting 29 or whether you're not. I think most people will land pretty well for game week 30. This is like an obsession of I must set for this bench boost. My concern with game week 30 is specifically for people like you who may be set into bench boost in game week 33, that you may not have the exact information. And the more unpredictable results there are in the cup this weekend, the more unpredictable game week 33 is likely to look. So that's why I don't like 30 is the potential that people set for a bench boost. And it's like, oh, Newcastle Ipswich will move to game week 33. And then it just stays in the midweek afterwards. And you're like, what the hell?
So for
Like, I
people
think
like,
those sort of things are possible.
so for people like myself in that boat, when would be the better time to wildcard then?
I just think the week after or 32, if obviously you're not using the arse man, the problem with 30 is the deadline's the Tuesday. The FA Cup quarterfinals will be the Saturday and the Sunday. I do think there's even a small chance that we might get Liverpool, Everton, or Chelsea, Tottenham moved to the Monday, which would make it a Monday deadline for game week 30. You're not going to get the games rearranged under that circumstance. If it's on the Tuesday, what's it going to be like half hour, an hour before deadline? That it normally kind of drops at like four, half four, 5 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah.
Panic at the end. 17 days of panic, just to panic at the end when something is different. That's horrendous. By game week 31, which will definitely be a Saturday deadline rather than a Friday because there's midweek fixtures, it would be very surprising if you didn't have the information by the Friday night.
I'm glad you said that, to be honest, because I'm not wedded to the idea of wildcard 30. To be honest, looking at my own team, my team actually may be better off wildcarding in 31 anyway, just given like Liverpool away, little things like that. I've got but quite a lot of my players are away looking at that game week actually. So I'm open to the idea of 30, 31, depending on how I fall, to be
That's
honest.
how, by the way, a lot of people are just naturally going to fall with a lot of players at home in game week 30 and 32, and a lot of players away in game week 31.
Yeah, so
It's
may
just
even,
natural how it is at the moment, almost irrespective of path.
yeah,
We'll
fair
cover
play.
that again more on
Yeah,
Tuesday.
How'd you get on?
79 -4 for me. So pretty good. Yeah, same back three as you, Gabriel, Trent, and Levi Colwell. I had Morgan Rogers jam for Alexander Isak missing out. I captain Salah. The -4 was Nkunku and Bowen
Nicely done.
for Gordon and Diallo, but effectively came over Gordon and Isak in the end, obviously. So that's worked out really nicely. Cunha blank, Palmer kind of blank, Pickford blank, Mateta 8 as well. He's doing great. He ticks over brilliant Jean-Philippe Mateta. So 79 -4, taking me back up to 20k. I've had this a few times this season where I have like 2 3 weeks in a row, drop, drop, drop. And obviously if you're not doing well in a week, you are going to drop at that sort of rank. But I keep having that 2 3 weeks, drop, 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 drop into the 30s, bang, back. Keep having that happen. So yeah, I probably
Well, you
expected a good game week in 35 and I'll finish game week 38 at like 50k probably.
no, I don't know. If you take that trend, you yeah, drop for the next three, fire up, drop to the
Well,
final three, and fire up again. You'll be laughing by game week
my
38.
problem is without the free hit chip, the whole situation becomes so much more difficult for me to maneuver over this period. As I've said previously, it'd be kind of wildcard 29 or 34 for me, probably in one of the two blanks to help maneuver that. That decision will be made after this weekend. So yeah, good. I'm
Fair
going to
play.
struggle to hold on to that rank in reality without the free hit chip.
Should we go through the games?
Yeah, let's because I mean, what I could certainly say in terms of transfers for game at 28, unless I've got a injury like Isak is a confirmed out, I'll be rolling.
Yeah, me
Great,
too.
great week to roll for many of you. I think it will be.
Yeah, agree with that. Yeah, on to the games. First one was Brighton Bournemouth, 2-1 to Brighton, and I have to give them credit. I think after what was the score against Forest? Was it 7-0? After that, you're kind of questioning how they'll bounce back and stuff. And I can't remember the order of the games, but I think it was back-to-back games against Chelsea. They won another one. They've obviously won against Bournemouth on Tuesday. So yeah, good reaction from them.
They are right in contention for these European places. I think I don't know if it was you or Suja said it to the other day. It's only the top two have lost less than Brighton
I
this
think that may have been
season.
Surge. I hadn't heard that. Wow,
They've lost 6 games
that's
in
unbelievable.
in the
Yeah.
Premier League. There's too many draws in there, and I think no matter what happens with the end of this Brighton season, they will have massive regret about the December January period with all those brilliant fixtures and so many games not won over that period. But yeah, they're right in contention. I think their fixture list is one of the more difficult ones of those still challenging for Europe. But yeah, good victory. Another João Pedro goal for those who'd held on, scored from the spot. One penalty won by himself, cleverly won by the way, because he's not scoring in a moment. Bless you again, Clayton. Just
Thank
for
you.
those on YouTube, the audio listeners were like, "What?" But Clayton does at least remember to mute his mic. But obviously, with Welbeck back, you've got question marks on the next one. But João Pedro did play well. I just think their function of a team is much better when Welbeck plays, and Rutter is playing really well at the moment. So if you're a João Pedro owner, it's just the problem goes on. And I do think there are so many other good forwards, kind of a little bit more. So Cunha's going to be so popular. Wood has obviously got a good fixture 29. Mateta and Isak, I know blank, but a lot of people obviously going to be thinking about finding money for Haaland. That's a long way up, for obviously, from João Pedro to Haaland. But I do think, unfortunately, people should still consider trying to move that on. You've got, haven't you?
Yeah, and you've literally said what's in my headspace. I'm looking at Wolves' fixtures and Cunha, and you're looking at that, and that just feels like it's tailor-made for me if I can make that happen.
All I'd say is I do think so. Brighton have got Fulham at home in 28, and Cunha's got Everton at home. If you think João Pedro starts, you should wait one more. If you don't, you're going to want to make the move. The train for Cunha will not stop unless he gets injured because the fixtures week after week just continue to look good. Obviously, if he continues to blank like he did, obviously this midweek, it will slow down a little bit. He's one of them players you can look at and know that the fixture run is so good that you'll continue to get the attention.
Yeah, and this is the thing for me. Like I said, I want to roll in 28, right? And like you said, it's probably the best week you can roll if you can. So I'm only really looking at 29, 30 with the intention of wildcarding 31. So I think with that in mind, in 29, Brighton have City away, I think, and
Yeah.
Wolves have Southampton. That just feels like a nice entry point. But then the thing is, in 29, if I'm not free hitting, Haaland's on my mind. How am I going to make that happen? So yeah, one to weigh up. But yeah, Cunha is in my headspace, and I want to get rid of João Pedro. He's just a bit of a annoying headache.
Yeah, it's nice for you. You've had the returns the last couple, right?
Well, I
Just like,
benched him the week before, but
oh,
yeah,
did you
this week
bench
was
me at
I did,
Southampton?
yeah.
I don't blame you for that because we all thought Welbeck was going to play, obviously. Just a note for there'll be a handful of people out there own Lewis Dunk. We're not quite sure when he'll be back yet, and I don't know if people would be holding, thinking, "Well, get me minutes in 29." Like it could suddenly be though, depending on what happens at this weekend. That if Brighton won on Sunday, it might be that suddenly we're projecting Brighton to double in 33 after playing Leicester at home in 32, and suddenly you're going to, well, that appeals in terms of an entry point for Brighton players. So I'd bear that in mind. Adam Webster, I thought played really well and don't think it's a shoo-in that he'd definitely get thrown back in
Okay.
necessarily. If Stupinan played at left back, Gomez played in midfield. They all did all right. I think when their front four, even irrespective of who it is, with Mensah and Mitoma as the two wide players, when it clicks, it clicks really, really nicely. Mitoma could have scored again from what would have been a brilliant move where he's hit the post. Yeah, doing good, Brian. There were a few after like they took the beating at Forest going, now all that kind of winter period of bad results. He's the manager under question here. Well, he's absolutely shut that up. He's a
Gotta
young
s-
manager, so you're going to have periods like that, I
gotta
think.
say that Diego Gomez, from the bits I saw of the game, he looked really impressive as well. Like he's quite aggressive with the way he punched the ball forward, and yeah, he looked good. That's the first time I've kind of watched him extensively, and I was quite impressed
Did
with
you
what I saw.
remember the player I said to you about him when I watched clips of him?
You said Raquelme, didn't you?
I don't know who that is. Riquelme, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my voice had a frog in my throat as I said that.
Cleared. Yeah, I'm not suggesting he's going to be as good one Roman Riquelme, but yeah, I saw little glimpses that reminded me of him. For Bournemouth, Zabani, I've not seen confirmation yet that the suspension stands, but he didn't play on Tuesday, so I assume that he does. There was this awful rumor went round about Dean Howson in the hour before deadline, which was obviously nonsense. He recovered from a potential ACL injury to start. I played Hill at centre back. He's just recently come back from injury. Cook's obviously covered at right back, and he's done that very well. Particularly his performance at Newcastle was outstanding. Ryan Christie, however, went off injured, and that would be a blow. I think he's so important to them, and they play my team next. And if Zabani, I presume, is still going to be suspended, and Christie is unavailable, I think there's a real positive there for my team. The biggest non-positive on it is the fact that he's 3 days after the Europa League first leg game, which is away. But I know there's a few who might have taken the Ange plunge on assistant manager, thinking City and Bournemouth in a row as bonuses. I'm not saying people go and attack it, but it's probably don't move at this stage.
Another
There are-
thing, oh, go on.
I was just going to say there aren't many Arsenal choices. If you did activate in say 26 for whatever reason, there's not many that look great. This what's coming up. I mean, it's Tottenham, Man United, West Ham is essentially your choice, and the bottom three. The bottom three are all away, so you don't want to do that. So it would be Postecoglou, Amrim, or Potter.
I'm
Probably
not.
would be Ange
I
from
think it
that.
would be,
Probably,
yeah. Just one thing
yeah.
I was going to say, there'll be people that went on Dango Atara a few weeks ago. Evan Nilsson obviously came on. Is that something that owners should be
Yes.
cautious about? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Look, there's more information to get on that in terms of the FA Cup this weekend. You would think he would do 45 minutes to an hour if they're planning it properly, with the idea maybe of him coming back into the team against Tottenham. All I'd say about playing against Tottenham is obviously games with my team can be quite intense. It's probably a bad fixture to bring him back in for.
But is that one where, like you say, you look at the FA Cup, it will get 45, maybe come on as a sub cameo against you. But that, I think when I ask that question, it's with people thinking of 29 in mind.
Of
Could
course, was
that
the
be
bigger
the
one.
one where, yeah. And that
Yeah, I
puts
mean,
owners in
there's
a tricky position, I think.
Bournemouth have got. I mean, 29 is over 2 weeks away. There's a lot can happen between now and then. Utara obviously, he really is a wide player. So there's nothing to say that he's not just going to go and play on the right wing. For example, you've had kind of Tavernier and Brooks rotating in that position. So even if Evan Nilsson does come back in the team, doesn't mean Utara definitely comes out. But if you invested in him, you didn't invest in him to play the wide role. And Bournemouth do have a little bit of a lean where they like to leave Semenyo a bit higher, and whoever plays the other side is a little bit more defensive. You've obviously got Kirkes where he pushes up down the left hand side. So it might end up being one you think is a bit shy. If you think he's going to play, you're not moving it.
No, of course not.
ultimately. So, but I think we would only be guessing at the moment between if Evan Nilsson comes in between Utara, Tavernier, and Brooks. Be guessing. Certainly, his minutes will come under question either way. So you wouldn't invest in that new now. I don't think, despite some of the frailties my team obviously has, I don't think you would buy Bournemouth this week anyway. I think you're on or you're coming back again in 29. And we kind of identified that at 27, 28, leave it be, come back again 29 if you want to. Those who are going to attack in 29 shouldn't attack Utara now. That's clear.
Yep.
It wouldn't be worth the risk. You would go Semenyo or Cliver, and Cliver's goal. Wow,
Oh, unbelievable.
what a goal! If you watch it back, as he hits it, you can hear the sound. It sounds like a rocket's launching, mate. You can hear a boom. What a goal!
Yeah.
What a brilliant goal! Wow, what a goal! And I didn't own him, and I knew it was going to be such a bad impact. If he hadn't scored, I'd have had an even better week, right? Because he's so well owned at the moment, Justin Cliver. If you've got Cliver or Semenyo, they're going absolutely nowhere. Similarly with the defensive guys, I guess if you've got a Kirkes, subject to what else you've got, you might well be benching this week. Kepa will solve a lot of goalkeeper issues if people truly believe that they've got one. They stay absolutely on radar. They're still involved. I think Brighton were deserving winners. It could have gone either way, particularly the chance Utara had actually.
Semenyo had
Kind
one
of
as
took it
well.
off. Kind of took it off Brooks's foot, didn't he? And that was at 1-1. He easily could have won.
Yeah, it's something that stuck out to me. Semenyo had a chance one on one, and it's something you said months ago. I want to say it was in the December period. He just seems
Just
to
lashes
lever
it.
it. Yeah. And I feel like if he just had a little bit more composure in that final action, I mean, what could be with him? But yeah, Brighton deserved winners. On to the next one. Crystal Palace 4, Aston Villa 1. I did not, I've thought Villa would lose. I didn't think it would be in this manner, and they're sat 10th in the league now. I mean,
Yeah, the Villa guys have been saying to us for a while on our Slack on Patreon that they're not really in contention for top five. Their away form is just nowhere near good enough, and they've still got a tough run of fixtures to go. I tell you one note I would say though, with them dropping to 10th, there's a chance here for Arsenal 31 to 33 where Emery really comes into contention, I think. That would be on the basis that if Newcastle or Palace weren't going to double in 33, so you didn't have that double scenario. Suddenly you could be looking at Emery going, Forest at home looks like it'll be a bonus now. Southampton away, then double.
yeah, I
Now
think that
that
could be
double
nice.
would be Newcastle at home, Man City away, but the Newcastle game could also, in theory, land as a bonus.
Yeah, and I feel like I like Villa in big
Well,
games.
and in fact, both of them, Newcastle and City, could land it. So you could have 3 games of bonus and Southampton. That would be pretty good.
It would be the sort of thing you wouldn't be surprised if they lose against Southampton, then beat one of City or Newcastle.
The note on that Southampton game is it's in between what's likely to be Champions League quarterfinals for Villa. And if they're still sitting in 10th, then the priority is going to be way more. The other thing with Emery versus, say, Howe or Glasner, if it does really appeal, you ain't going to have 3 Villa.
No, that's true.
You easily could have Hall, Gordon, Isak, or Munoz, Eze, Mateta, or even Dean Henderson, I think, as
Yeah, that's
well.
very true.
You ain't going to have 3 Villa. So it might just, I know a lot of people be penciling Arsenal 31 to 33. It might just land. They go to Brighton, by the way, in 30, if people were looking at that as a route, sort of 30 to 32. And to be honest, it's not impossible that that could be a bonus as well. They're 8th and 10th, respectively, at the moment. Remember, Brighton got the extra fixture, 29. If Brighton won at City, you'd be in the position now, and suddenly where we've spoke about attacking sort of like Forest Bournemouth quite a bit, and we're doing again here, you might be looking at certain Brighton games and going, I can attack Brighton for a bonus, maybe even. But again, they've only lost 6 times this season. He changed the system, Emery. Primarily went with a back three. Lamine Bogar played left-sided centre back. I don't know if the choice on this was partly that he did not want to play Disasai or Contra in that role. Might have been part of what this was. Played Dean and Garcia as the wing backs. Bailey came on for Garcia at half time. And they played Rogers and Ramsey behind Watkins. Rogers is like Mr. fucking indestructible, isn't he? I really didn't think he had the. I've really thought he was going to get a rest maybe over these two anyway. He had the knock where he'd asked to come off at the wing. You think, give him a rest. Played again. He scored.
Yeah.
With a goal disallowed as
Mate,
well.
that's one of the finest ones I remember in terms of margins. Oh my, have you seen the kind of VAR process
Yeah,
after?
he doesn't look offside.
No, he
I'm not saying
doesn't,
it's
does he?
not, but he doesn't
I
look it.
agree. I didn't think he did either.
Yeah, it was a brilliant pullback from Watkins on that, and he takes the goal that he scores in the second half really well. It kind of comes behind him, just spins really lovely. He's a great player, and he's fine to hold. I think for those running through 29, he becomes really awkward though, because you look at the fixture and the fixtures aren't great. Even you're looking at Southampton, yes, even Rodgers could get rotated against Southampton in game week 32. And you think, well, I want to carry like a Salah value or an Isak value, or there'll be different players you've got value in, and they'll have better fixtures. Rodgers might not feel that way, but there'd be nothing wrong with keeping him as seventh, eighth attacker, ticking over great. I think Watkins owners will be thinking about moving on. And obviously, for people who own Watkins, it's easier to get to Haaland than it is, say, for you and a João Pedro, because you'd be, downgrade Palmer. You can't. But Watkins owners might just about be able to put it off and go to, say, like a Nwaneri or something like that. You might just about be able to do it. So I think Watkins, you'd move on. I wouldn't rush to do it for Brentford away, though. Again, it would probably be a wait for 29 because the information is more important. Defensively, if you can bin, you've got Martinez.
Yeah, that was just when the double happened. I couldn't really get to any Villa attackers, so I played the odds there. But I started him over Pickford this week, and he obviously went off. But I've got Pickford, so I'm covered.
Yeah, so Pickford, you would start probably for the next two. I mean, you probably would go Pickford at Wolves rather than Martinez at Brentford, wouldn't you? I
Yeah,
think.
I think so.
Pickford's obviously good for 29. Then Pickford's fixtures get rough. But as said, it might land on the fixtures where you go, actually, Martinez will cover me better. Your consequences, you've got two goalkeepers at the 5 million range. You
Yeah,
could
but
save £1 million here somewhere doing something. But it might even be draw out Pickford in 30 to like Kepa or something like that.
yeah, we'll see. If I'm wildcarding 31, I don't think my final fun punt in game week 30 should be on a goalkeeper. But
No,
yeah, we'll
it
see.
shouldn't. You would just go Martinez away to Brighton, wouldn't you, rather than Pickford at Everton?
I
Yeah,
think so.
I don't think there'll be too much coming back for Villa, even though I've kind of laid out a really interesting scenario for Emery. I don't think it will look that interesting for the attacking players. Rogers fine. If Watkins has a double, it's going to tempt, isn't it? But just remember, like I said, that 32 game, you might get big rotation. If they had Wednesday in the Champions League against Liverpool or PSG, it'd be one or the other. Saturday, Southampton, then Tuesday, the
You
reverse,
can see
and they're
already.
10th in the league. Yeah, you are going to get big rotation for what would be the best fixture of the lot. For Palace,
Hey, back-to-back 20 pointers for Oliver Glasner.
and Glasner, we again we'll definitely speak about Oliver Glasner in more detail next week in terms of what he could be on this kind of Arseman path for those who haven't used it yet, because he will appeal. They've got Ipswich and Southampton their next two fixtures with the blank in the middle. It's so awkward. If they played in 29, we would be steaming into them. They had what Wolves have got fixtures wise.
Oh,
Oh my God, I've got to
all
get
over it.
Munoz in. I'd want to attack Eze. I definitely want Mateta. Henderson, I think, is going to be one that really appeals to someone like me who can. I want to carry, if I wildcard in 29, I want to carry a goalkeeper that blanks in 29 as a double. So my choices are Allison, no; Pope, no; Martinez, no; Henderson by default might be my answer. Therefore, that means I probably go with Outmanos on my path further forward if I take that route. Eze will be, we'll see. It might be one to come back and attack for later on. Mateta is going to drive me nuts.
Him and Chris Wood, I haven't owned once, and I'm like, what is going on?
Well, Mateta's more recent, isn't it? I mean, Chris Wood's been unbelievable all season. He's got more points than Haaland, or
I need to check that.
he's close. It might have changed after
Oh
this
my God,
midweek.
you're right. He
Yeah,
is.
it's the top scoring forward, Chris Wood.
He is. He is, yeah. 170 points.
Yes, I don't know how I'm at 20k and haven't owned him all season either. There's definitely a period where I am going to own Chris Wood, I think, and there's that. So at 29, no matter what I do, it's like I definitely want to carry Isak through. Great fixture, 30, 31, double 32, possibly the double 33 is more likely than it is for Mateta. So do I cut? I've got Cunha as well. So my front three is Isak, Mateta, Cunha. So when I hit 29, almost irrespective of what I do, I want to carry Isak. I got more value in Isak. I'm like a million up on him. Am I going Mateta to Wood? Or am I just leaving it?
I think in your situation, I think I'd leave it personally. That front three is set up so nicely either side. It's just a shame how it's fallen in 29 for you.
Yeah, and then there's also like, oh, if your front three set up quite well, do you really want a wild card, James? Just suffer
Yeah.
29 for what it is. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he's absolutely bang on it. He's flying in confidence, takes his goals extremely well. Eze's been much better the last two. Looks like he's maybe getting free of this problem. Another attacking return for Munoz. That's worth paying the extra for. I know Oliver Glasner said a little bit of concern about Mark Gay, but they play Millwall Saturday lunchtime. The expectation is it'll probably be okay. He had a bit of a knee knock. I think, yeah, Henderson, Munoz, Eze, and Mateta obviously are going to really stand out over the next few weeks. So if you're heading towards 29, you overlook it, don't you? You don't. I don't think you go and buy Mateta now.
No,
You
and
might want to attack it in 30, but the problem with 30 is just said if you land with, let's say you came out of 29 with, let's even just say Wood, Cunha, Isak. Are you gonna, oh, Forest got Man United. Shit, I better move Wood. Not really.
no.
Especially, and by that, you might be looking at going, oh, fuck, Forest are projected to double now in 33 is a possibility. So, yeah, Mateta's a really, really interesting one, quite impacted by people's strategy, whether they're going to have or not. The Palace guys were keen to really point out on us, like Adam Wharton, outstanding.
Yeah, I saw that. I can't remember if he got man of the match or not, but he was definitely in the conversation from the kind of post-match stuff I was seeing. He sounded like he played brilliantly.
Back in the team, and just a consequence, he's a very different type of footballer to Jefferson Lerma. Wharton and his ability to play through lines is great for the likes of Eze and Mateta and their potential, what they can be. So to see him back fit, because he hasn't been for pretty much all season, that's a big bonus for Palace. Yeah, they're going to be really interesting forthcoming weeks. Another great result. If they can put the sort of run together that they did, obviously, kind of this stage last season, they ain't out of contention for Europe either. But they have some horrendous away games to come.
Indeed. On to the next one, Wolves versus Fulham. It was 2-1 away win for Fulham.
Great result for Fulham. I think that the key takeout from this is Sasa Lukic getting his 10th yellow. So
Yeah.
he misses the games against Brighton and yes, Tottenham now. And then afterwards, they have a really rough run of fixtures Arsenal, Liverpool straight afterwards, then actually Bournemouth, Chelsea. So if you factor in, I think Lukic has become a key player for them. Brighton and Tottenham weren't going to be easy anyway. Then that rough run of fixtures. It's not to suggest if you have the likes of Jimenez, you need to bin now. But I think now you're going, yeah, these guys might be becoming a little bit more expendable for me. The likes of Jimenez is still going to carry you fine in 29, but I don't think people would free hit
Well,
him in.
is he? Because Muniz obviously scored, didn't he? So is that,
Well, they mass rotated here, didn't they? And that's why this
yeah.
is a great result as well. So you've had Bassi didn't play, Anthony Robinson didn't play, came on and got booked as well, by the way, 0 pointer. Muniz has played. They've changed the team quite a bit. I think Sunday's really important for them against Manchester United. Perhaps a consequence of a little bit of fatigue coming off the weekend. We didn't think Smith Rowe was going to play anyway. So they've rotated. Really good result.
Yep.
But I still, and Muniz takes the goal really well, by the way. But yeah, Jimenez will be first choice. Pretty sure about that. I'm pretty sure Lewis James would say the same. Lewis, respond to the tweet and tell us, is Raul Jimenez still first choice? I wouldn't panic about that, but I think, for example, if you're free hitting 29, you go Haaland, Cunha, Wood, don't you? As your front three.
Yeah, I think so.
Despite, I know he's playing my team and what we can be, but Wood at Ipswich, Cunha at Southampton, Haaland. That's your
Yeah,
free hit front
that
three,
looks like
isn't
the
it?
best three. Yep.
I think it is. So there wouldn't be a place for Jimenez. So those who got, if free hitters are going that way, consequently, if you own, you might also be thinking that way. Am I right in saying you do own as well,
I've got
Clays?
him. Yeah,
So you
that's
got
what I'm.
Jimenez and João Pedro.
Oh no, stinking big
How are you
gaff out, mate.
moving this on, mate?
What do you mean?
How are you moving these guys on? Where are they going?
No, no, I need them for 29, don't I?
Well, no, you don't.
Well, not João Pedro, but
I,
Jimenez.
I, I
Jimenez
think
was one.
you should look at wildcard 29 bench boost 30, mate.
Yeah, no, I wanted Jimenez for 29 because I think if you can tell me he plays 90 minutes against Spurs, I'd quite like that. Is
He
is it
doesn't
the
play 90 minutes against us.
okay? If he even if he plays 70, I
70,
quite
70,
like that.
75, yeah.
Is it the optimal one of the three? Probably not. Yeah, João Pedro I'll look to move on anyway, but yeah, Jimenez is one that I was kind of looking to keep for 29, but I'm a little bit nervous because of Muniz scoring. But yeah, so he's someone like again, it's just for 29. I've got no intention of having him for the rest of the season after I get through 29.
Note on Fulham, though, before you bin, and again, information really important coming up. They're scheduled to play Southampton in 34, which is going to be blank game week. But if obviously they progress in the cup, you might be looking at Southampton away becoming part of a double. And that might change your perception quite
That
a
might,
bit
yeah,
on what, yeah, I mean, Fulham could land with a double that's like Chelsea at home, Southampton away. It's not terrible. In
no.
any case, like if you're not free hitting in 34, having like a Castagne and Anderson, you're like, oh, I'm not using it. It's useless to me. Might be very useful to you in game week 34, for example. So I think the likes of Jimenez, you'll be thinking of moving on. Certainly when you wild card, he ain't going to be a part of it.
No.
But you might still want to carry one of them defensive ones. And obviously, people got some will have massive value in Robinson. I don't think you move that either. He's still obviously a big attacking threat. Nice to see Ryan Session on score.
Yeah, it was a quick one, wasn't it? First couple of minutes.
Do you know how old he is?
Uh,
Please Google it. It's gonna amaze you, mate.
the first age that came to mind was like 28, 29.
Go on in, Google it. Google it while I talk about Wolves. So Manetzi played as the false nine again. There's obviously a blank for Cunha. Strand Larson is fit, and I think Strand Larson will probably play at Bournemouth in the cup at the weekend. And as long as he comes through it, fine. I think he'll go back in the team. Again, considering some of the other forwards we've mentioned, Clayton's just jaw dropped. Go on, how old is Ryan Sessegnon?
He's 24 years old.
It's madness, isn't it?
What? I feel like he's been around forever.
He played for my team, and that even caught me by surprise when I saw that the other day. Yeah, you're not going to look at Larson because of what we spoke about with other forwards. If Agbadu was fit for 29, it'd be so useful as little 4.0 I could just play in that week would be great. We don't think he's going to make it. 8 Nori is going to get attention. For anyone who's a fixture head like me and carrying through, you're absolutely going to look at him. And I think he would go in for free hitters in 29 as well because they're playing Southampton. You think what this could be.
He's just such a fun footballer. Even looking at the highlights of the game, like he's not a left back. He's a number 10. That's the
Well,
way he
we've seen him
plays.
invert from. I remember him doing it for Gary O'Neill in a game against Sheffield United last year, inverting from wing back,
And
not
he's
from
so
full back,
comfortable on the
from
ball.
wing back, which is a very unusual one. But outside of Aitnori and Cunha, I don't know what you really want to look at with Wolves. Like I said, if Agbadu was fit, that's 4.0. You go, okay, he's my 15th player. It's going to be useful for me in certain periods. I think it will make people drawn towards Jose Sarr
How much is
because
he?
I think it's 4.3. It is cheap. They don't keep many clean sheets, but fixtures are good as well documented. To be honest, other than City away in 35, you'd probably be pretty happy to play him in every game they've got left.
Well,
And that really applies to like Nori and Cunha, obviously.
on your spreadsheet on Slack for the next seven, Wolves are top of your FDR. But I think this is one thing where like I'm a fixture head and I'd happily have an 8 Nuri, but that's because of his potential attacking upside as well. I don't think I'd go for someone from Wolves just for defensive output,
If
despite the fixtures.
if you're, and it was kind of a regular question yesterday on my stream, like, oh, someone for the next two, maybe people thinking of wild card in 30. Again, be very cautious if you've got the bench boost about doing that, or people asking about the next three. If you look at the teams that are kind of best over like the next three, Bournemouth, we've just said don't really attack this week. Wait. Nottingham Forest is not attacked this week. Wait for then the two home fixtures afterwards. They play City next. City then the same reason. Wait, with City you need to have as much information as possible for 29 if you intend to attack them. Chelsea, presumably you're already on. You haven't now. This I'm going to buy Cole Palmer now. That's clearly not what people have decided. So if you did have to attack something this week, i.e., you've got an injury from the weekend or something, you are going to get drawn to look at Wolves straight away. Let's not say Everton's an easy fixture. It's not. Right? Everton have gone, what, six unbeaten or so under David Moyes. Haven't lost since his first game. But you're still going to think, okay, it's at Molineux. That's the one I'm going to attack now. So if anybody didn't have Cunha and Isak was ruled out for a couple of weeks, like they're buying Cunha.
Yep.
I think, for example. Similarly, if you had Lewis Hall and the same thing, Lewis Hall got injured at the weekend, you're going to want to go and buy Ray and Aït-Nouri.
Yep,
Those are the
definitely.
first players coming to mind. So it really would appeal. This is a disappointing result.
Yeah, especially
Fulham,
like you said, they rotated as well, Fulham. So I think even more so it's
yeah.
disappointing for Wolves.
Worth noting on Fulham, I think they've now got I think the fourth best away record actually. In terms of points per game, their disappointments have been things like drawing at home to Ipswich, drawing at home to Southampton. We covered that earlier in the week. But that's really interesting because when they went to Manchester United, which was a similar time of year last year, and they went and won, that was only their second away win of last season. So over the last 12 months, their away form has improved dramatically. That is not an easy fixture for anyone at any point. Marco Silva's band of misfits are pretty good. And they recovered from the disappointment of Palace last weekend. They didn't play well, right?
Yeah, true.
Maybe that speaks a lot about Palace at the moment as well.
On to the next one. Chelsea 4, Southampton nil. I don't know how in depth you want to go because we did have quite a lengthy discussion around captaincy on Wednesday around Palmer versus Salah. But yeah, good, very good win for Chelsea. But I think it was one that a lot would have predicted this one, to be honest.
If you captain Cole Palmer this week, obviously on Wednesday we were saying like don't regret it. We can now say it was the best decision. I ain't bothered about the outcome. That was the right choice. You put all that data in front of me, Palmer v Salah. I'm captain Palmer.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
don't hate it. Interestingly, for what's next, obviously Salah plays Southampton next. Palmer still has Leicester at home. And if you watch Leicester last, like I did, with me fucking pulling my eyelids up, um, you'll think, hey, it's on again. Maybe now Palmer hasn't scored in six or
six
so
games, I
now.
think it is. Yeah.
But I wonder if we get close to deadline, if people might get a bit scared about Mo not playing,
I mean, it is PSG, isn't it, next week?
which the Wednesday and the Tuesday either side of Southampton,
Yeah.
the exact scenario we've spoken about with Villa. I think the difference here though would
Mo will
be,
play.
yeah, I think the big thing for context, I spoke about this with Trent yesterday as well, is because Liverpool don't play this weekend.
Yeah, and also Mo is going for one of the generational seasons ever. Like this guy is not going to want to sit a second on the bench for the rest of the season,
I
even if
would,
he's running on
I would,
empty.
I would suggest his X minutes will be lower for game week 28 than what it would normally be. But if they do prove to be lower, it's probably because he's already killed them.
Yes.
So I wouldn't at this moment have any intention of going Palmer captain in game week 28 against Southampton. I think Mo. Um, please don't sell Palmer though. I have seen one or two people like rage transfer him out and stuff.
Before Leicester.
People just had enough. I
Fair
could
enough.
get it a bit more if like Saka's playing for you and Saka's doing really well and he's at similar value going, yeah, shit, Palmer's not doing it. I want to move on. Okay, right, we can have a little bit of a debate. But yeah, please don't rage that out this week. Would it truly shock you if he returned and did the business against Leicester? Certainly won't surprise me under that
Not at all,
circumstance.
no.
And also, it's worth noting, obviously, the 29 fixture's a bit ugly away to Arsenal.
It's not as ugly as it was a month ago.
No, that's very true. But I still think psychologically, you look at it and think there's better players I can have. The fixture might not be as hard, but defensively, you're still very strong.
Yeah.
You're not expecting Cole Palmer to haul at Arsenal. Let's put it that way, right? Can he return? Of course, no doubt. I think in 29, those who don't have Haaland will be massively tempted to, as kind of said earlier, Palmer down, get you forward up towards Haaland. Get that. For those three hitting in 29, it's worth remembering that Palmer's fixtures 30 to 32, the Tottenham at home, Brentford away, Ipswich at home. And if you are short of chips, i.e., particularly the free hit chip, like me, then I'm thinking, how bad is it to have Cole Palmer away to Fulham and play him when others are filling their team with doublers? It's okay. And most importantly, we know the fixture against Everton will be on in 34. So for people free hitting in 34 will be trying to work in Salah, Palmer, and probably Saka if he's back.
You know what we said on Wednesday about outcome? Cole Palmer had very good chances against
Of course.
Southampton. And he's not famous last words. He's not going to continue blanking for the rest of the season. And if there's a period where you'd expect him to get the returns and break that cycle, I think it is in this period coming up.
Did you see his Instagram post?
I didn't know.
I thought it was a little odd that he kind of posted a picture of himself looking a bit sad.
All right, is that what you did? I've not seen
Yeah,
anything
he was
about it.
sitting down. He posted Instagram and he was like, "We'll be back soon, plus
What did he
three."
say? I'll be back soon.
Something like that. I can't remember exactly. I'm paraphrasing. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, I thought that's a bit weird that you've posted a picture that's not looking happy when your team's won 4-0.
Yeah, it's a bit me,
I mean,
myself, and I, that, isn't it?
Maresca and his fellow coaches on the bench, the way they were reacting at full time, you'd have thought they'd just got to the cup final or something. It's a
Oh,
little
is it?
bit
I've not
it's a
really
little bit over
seen
the top
that.
against Southampton. In any case, but what Palmer also put on his Instagram post was plus three. He's obviously referring to the points Chelsea have picked up, but fantasy managers was going, "Well, I wanted more than three, mate." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, please stick with Cole Palmer. Subject to how we feel about Mo in 7 days' time. I mean, let's put it this way: if Salah got injured in the first leg against PSG, who you captain in 28, I'll be captain Cole Palmer under that circumstance.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Exactly that. Some of the punts worked out, and Kunku worked out. I think Neto's worked out. Neto clearly the nine from this.
Yeah, that surprised me when I saw them lining
I
up.
thought they'd change that back as well, to be honest. But I do think there's an attempt to get something out of Nkunku that's way more important at the moment because a lot of his good work for Leipzig came arriving into the box off the left. And I think when you saw the lineup, I thought, okay, that could be Nkunku back with Palmer as 9/10s, Sancho left and Neto back to the right. We played Sancho on the right. We've not seen much of that for Chelsea. So I think there's an intention. Well, at least while Jackson's out, you do have this good goal scoring midfielder. I mean, another stat that would make you go crazy is if you actually look at how many goals Nkunku and Palmer have scored in all competitions this season. You'd be
Go
like,
on.
hang on a minute, what? I haven't seen Nkunku score all season. How is it that close? Well,
Stat padding on
Thursday night
Thursdays.
football
Yeah.
has a lot to do with that. But with him, there's always no doubt. Put him in front of goal, he's a bit of a killer.
Well, and this is I'm watching Bowen and Nkunku very closely until 29 now because going into game week 27, I wanted one of the two and I went Bowen in the end and I'm looking at it like I'm 6 points down, but I wanted Nkunku for Southampton Chelsea and to be honest, I don't even think this is hindsight. I think my gut wanted to go Nkunku, but I bottled it because Bowen is more safe, it feels.
Should have done well. I did get both, mate.
Yeah, I should have done.
I wouldn't rush towards them though. Like if you're looking for 1 week punts because you've determined you're going to wild card in 29, Chelsea's top of the shop if you don't own three, right? Even more so than watch Leicester this week rather than Chelsea. And I think, yeah, Nkunku would be the one I'd punt rather than Neto's positioning under that circumstance, just because I think Nkunku's the more likely to go batshit. That's why I picked him over others. You and I are delighted with that Levi Colwell return. I'm not going to
Ah,
talk about it
yeah.
too much because I spoke about it quite a bit on the Clayton and James show on Wednesday, but that was very nice timing. I obviously intend to play him in this one as well. Jorgensen, Maresca's confirmed he's going to stay in goal at the moment. Now, he is obviously cheap, but I don't think you could look at him as a long term option. I don't think there's an intention to change him. Like he's just made mistakes at Villa and he's played again. So they want to try and give him a run. But I think if you were looking, say, by like game week 32, 33, now that's too dangerous.
There was a period in the first 15 minutes where he had the ball, he was passing it to Enzo, Enzo was going back, and they were doing it vice versa. It felt like two, three passes back to each other, and the fans were getting really agitated. So yeah, I think that yeah, he's probably not a stable one to go for, even if Maresca has confirmed his intention is to keep him there.
Yeah, no, I think if you were going to attack Chelsea, surely you've already done it anyway in most scenarios. Unless you got an injury and you want to add another, I get it. But I think you could only have short term thinking. Remember that Jackson, Lavia, all these guys are predicted to be back pretty much straight after the international break. So that's going to have an impact as well. Romeo Lavia will be a huge difference maker for Chelsea and their performances in the running. They do have some good fixtures. The final four are difficult. So they'll want to get ahead. They have done that now. They're back up to fifth. They'll want to be clearer ahead of that going into those final four games. They're capable of doing it. Southampton, just a note, they're obviously capable of getting absolutely slapped in any game. There's no point looking at this any differently. Part of that comes through the bravery, right? So they went man to man a lot. And if once Chelsea manipulate it. But that said, it's also worth saying the goals ultimately, two of the three goals in the first half come from set plays. If you defend them better, that's bloody helpful as well. It's only really the Palmer and the Neto chances, with Palmer's two chances and Neto goal, kind of really cut them up and open. Once they're behind, quality wise, is so far off.
Yeah.
So the good news for them is to play Leicester in game at 35.
Ha! What's the score going to be
That's
in
their
that
best
one?
chance of beating the Derby point total. They are
I,
in real danger because everybody plays them, and like I've even said, if you're a Liverpool fan, I suppose Liverpool is probably a bad example because it's just make sure you get the points first and foremost. But if you come out of Anfield and you beat Southampton 1-0, you're probably a bit disappointed.
yeah, definitely.
But everybody's thinking that. Wolves are going to go to Southampton again, a little bit different because priority of holding other teams off. But yeah, Wolves will be thinking we can get a few here. The teams playing afterwards, Palace, Tottenham, Villa, all these teams will be thinking can smash these. It's
Yeah.
it's not great. They just don't have the quality of the personnel. I think he's got stuff that he wants to implement, which is quite interesting, but man to man, they're just so far off everybody else, basically, bar the two other teams around them.
On to the Wednesday games. Brentford won, Everton won. My boy Beto had chances, and I've got to say, Visser's header is one of it was like, I don't know why it just cracked me. It was like absolute fucking salmon just going for it. Like,
It's interesting. Decore scored a kind of a similar one, jumping over Maguire at the weekend, and then this came back at Everton.
yeah, I don't know why that cracked me up, but yeah, 1-1. I think most people would have called this, but like you said, Everton unbeaten now. The last defeat I remember was game week 21, I think, against Villa. So yeah, doing very well.
Yeah, Everton doing great. Decore missed out, by the way, because Baby expected. I hope that's gone well. So that's why Alcaraz came back in the things. I think Decore actually had a decent performance for Everton against Manchester United. So I think the favouritism might be there with Decore. I think Everton obviously have Wolves and West Ham in the next two. I guess if you were planning to wildcard 30, Everton go right onto your radar. You could attack assist machine Vitali Mikalenko if you want as the cheapest way into Everton's defence. You know how many Premier League assists that is for Mikalenko now, Clayton, in his career?
In his career, oh, I couldn't tell you that. No, gone.
Guess a number.
20?
I guarantee you'd be like 20, you dickhead. It's his first ever Premier League
Oh,
assist.
I thought it was Leighton Baines reincarnated.
You can tell you're staying off socials at the moment, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be the one to go to, though. If you're looking really short term, I probably wouldn't pay for the extras.
That's
Well,
his
I
first
suppose if you could.
assist.
Yeah, it's madness, isn't
That's
it?
blown my
He has
mind.
scored a few as well.
Yeah.
He scored a couple of crackers. His first assist, crazy. Beautiful ball in. And very well taken by O'Brien, who Sean was keen to message me afterwards. I was only about 4 weeks late, but I told you O'Brien was the one. All right, cheers, Sean. We'd have all fucking benched him anyway this week, you melon. I suppose if money doesn't come into it, you go Tarkovsky. If it's just for the next two,
Yeah, I think
because
so.
that's the most
That.
likely of the 15 pointers, isn't it? That's
Yep.
what you're looking for. I don't think making keeper change at this point. It's worth saying for Everton. I think they'll be pretty unpopular after the blank. Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest away, City at home, Chelsea away. For those wildcarding in 34 or 35, they will be very interesting. And even people like Dwight McNeil be so far off your radar. If he's back for that period, could
When
be
is he
quite
due back? Do you know?
interesting.
Yeah, you're
No,
right. He's off my radar entirely. Not a
don't know. Well,
clue.
of course he would be.
Yeah.
I'm saying Everton's last two home games are Ipswich and Southampton.
Fantasy website says expected back 2nd of April. I don't know historically how accurate they are, but that would mean
Yeah,
game
they'll.
week 31.
All I'd say with that is if Moyes has said at some point after the international break, they'll just go with that because that's the first week after the international break at the moment. But yeah, right at the end, Everton's last two home games are Ipswich and Southampton, who might be finished by that point as well. And I think people will be looking at little rotation ones then. You think, oh, I can use that. Fulham away 36 and Newcastle away 38. And again, those two teams might have nothing to play for, subject to what's happening. So Everton final four will come back around, but that period between 30 and 34, probably not. So I don't think you'd wildcard in the likes of Pickford unless you were really thinking that far ahead and thinking, I want him for the final four and I have a different keeper for the next five. But then having a good keeper for 33 and 34 would be challenging. Everton go to Chelsea in 34. So probably not. So hang on, I've just clocked here. So you've got Pedro, Jimenez, and Beto.
Yes, sir.
But how are you moving any of them?
I think I'm gonna have to sell Salah, and mess up on my value. The more I've clocked how I've boxed myself in a little bit, the more I'm coming to that realization that I think I'm unfortunately going to have to. And this is where it makes what I do in 30 quite difficult. Yeah, so I think I may have cocked up a little bit.
Well, no, not really, because you've had some good returns from some of these players. And Beto's done
Yeah,
great for
yeah,
you, right?
but
I mean, much better than you expected. This is his first blank since before the double, right?
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I think
no,
even the week
definitely.
before.
But yeah, in terms of what I do in 29, I do think it is looking like for me to get Haaland, it is going to be a case of getting rid of Salah and then I come out. And this is what, like, yeah, the way my team is set up, it looks better for my team to wild card in 31 rather than 30. But then that means no Salah at home to Everton. But then if I have made that decision to get rid of Salah to get Haaland, I'm going to keep him for Leicester at home, aren't I? So
I
yeah,
mean, look, if you've been Salah and Trent in 29, then you're putting what, circa 20 million in the bank.
yeah,
But the problem is you're buying two other players for those two players before you spend the money.
yeah. I don't think I need to sell Trent.
How many frees you got?
Right now, none. So I'm looking to roll through 28. So I have two. But yeah, I think my plan as it stands is to try and turn one of the strikers into Haaland. And unfortunately, to do that, I think I need to get rid of Salah. And midfielder wise, I'll probably go for one of the Brentford boys. Sorry, Bournemouth boys against Brentford.
Please consider a game with 29 wild card.
Are you having me on, or should I actually look at it?
No, I think you should
Because
look at it.
I've got a lot of time on my hands this weekend where I'm actually going to sit down and just plan extensively what I'm doing.
I
So,
really think you should. I'm not saying you should do it. And
all
again,
right.
this weekend's
No,
really
I will look at
important.
it. Yeah.
But look, it was something I ended up looking at because I had to find weird solutions to my problem of no free hit and lack of chips. And every time I look at it, I like it.
Okay.
And
Yeah. I'll look at it.
every time I look at it, by the way, I look at my team in game week 30 and think I could bench boost that. No, I don't have a
Oh, so you
bench
weren't even
boost.
joking about the bench boost in
No,
30?
I
Oh,
mean this.
I
Seriously, look at
genuinely
it.
thought you were joking. All right. Yeah, I'll look at it.
Seriously, look at it. Particularly, it's a message for those particularly who have got the arsemanship as well. Like, I don't know how to play all these chips. I mean this. If you're set, I would say with the front line you've got there, you're set for problems. The
Right.
rest of
Well,
your team's fine, right? Just look at it
we'll
because you
cover that
might
on.
go wildcard 29, bench boost 30, assistant manager 31 to 33, free hit 34, deal with the fucking shite at the end for the run in.
We'll
It could be
discuss
it
that
could be the way.
on Tuesday's chip strategy pod. We'll talk about that, and then yeah, I'll make sure I look at it for the week over the weekend so that I'm well equipped for that discussion on
Oh, and I
Tuesday.
wouldn't even bother looking till Monday night. And you're like, what do I need to talk about, James, for Tuesday? It's like, just ask the right questions and yeah, you'd be fine. What game are we talking about? I've forgotten now.
Brentford Everton.
Yeah, that's the Everton bit done. For Brentford, obviously, Vissa, Bumo, if you've got Flecken, it's obviously fine for the next couple, particularly running into the blank. You should have a consciousness, I think, that the fixtures as a cluster are rough now. Villa, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, Forest are their fixtures up to 34. Every one of those teams is above Brentford at the moment. And Brentford tick over fine, right? And they're very capable of getting good results against some of these teams. But where Brentford have done really well this season is putting away the shit. They've been really good at beating the teams below them in the table. So again, you're not moving on your Boomos or your Vissas heading into training. Vissa, you might be tempted, maybe. Boomo, you wouldn't move on. But I think Boomo particularly be a really interesting one going into sort of 30 if people wild carding the roundabouts then and there's no double for Brentford. Remember, for Brentford to double, you need Forest to stay in the cup, basically,
Yep.
because there'll be so many other players that will appeal. And you might go, okay, this is the right time to cut him. I can tell you that I cut him and I wish I never had.
Same. I did that before, but it's not gonna put me off doing it again if it aligns with how everything falls.
They might have the best fixtures 35 to 38.
Yeah, but then just getting back in for them.
It will
Easier said
be
than done. I get it, but
yeah, absolutely. Remember, you're gonna split in here into two different points. And reason we say Forest is so important Monday night is because they play Brentford in 34.
yep.
If that fixture got brought forward and you need to wildcard in 34 because you're short of a free hit, Forest and Brentford players would really appeal. That'll make them rough because they're not the guys you'll want to bench if you're wildcarding in that week because it's a blank. You'll be going, oh shit, there's other more powerful players I want to be benching rather than these. Boomer, maybe not. But yeah, there's a consequence there that's really important. I don't think you're buying Brentford new. I think if you've got, great. Otherwise, they're probably not your priority for 29. I think people will be drawn to Bumo, and I think he will be in free hit teams in 29.
Fair play. Man United 3, Ipswich 2. Do you have any strong opinions that you want to join Roy Keane and Ian Wright on regarding Bruno Fernandes?
Not particularly, but did you see the one where he took the piss back out of Madison?
Yeah, I did. I thought that was funny, to be
Yeah, I
fair.
really laughed hard. That was great when he did the arrow back at the camera. It was really good, and to be honest, he said nice things about Madison as well. Um, no, I think Bruno Fernandes is probably not the hill to die on in terms of Manchester United's problems.
No, and I mean, Maguire coming in to save the day. Well, was it the FA Cup game where he did that? I know he was offside, but last minute goal twice from him now in a
Against
few
Leicester,
weeks.
yeah. Well, I mean, this
Yeah,
obviously wasn't a last minute goal. All three United's goals from set pieces, which is bad for Ipswich. And to be honest, in the circumstance of what happened in this game, Ipswich had to win. They had to
yeah,
win with obviously Patrick Dorgu's red card. Red card for you.
yeah. I mean, and he had a stinker, didn't he? Obviously, was partly at fault for the first goal and then got himself sent
Great
off.
pass.
Yeah, great assist, wasn't
Put it
it?
on a
But
plate for
yeah, he
finishing, Billy.
did. Yeah, red card for me. No
Um,
real doubt in my mind, to be
yeah,
honest. What about you?
yeah, no, I agree with that. It's probably an unfortunate one. I don't think necessarily meant it, but
No, I don't think he meant it, but
kind of with the Zabani one the week before, who really are potentially doing some damage. That's going to get called now because of the contact area basically, and the way of the contact, kind of straight leg. Yeah, not great. People would have gambled him. A few. I've seen a few who did, who gambled him with, well, I'll get him in now and I'll use him as a cheap enabler for Ipswich at home and Leicester away in the blank. You ain't doing that now. Suspend him,
no.
obviously.
Yep,
So, I mean, that's a brutal blow, isn't it? Because you're so careful with if you're trying to plan through a blank, you're trying to be so careful with your transfers, and that theory of yeah, getting for Ipswich and Leicester,
yeah.
I can't really
No,
argue
you
that.
can't.
And now you've got another blanker. You're like, oh my god, and he's like, oh, what the fixtures afterwards? Yeah, they're shit. There's no reason to hold him. So he'd be the sort of one now. Maybe if you didn't have eight Nori, you're looking at eight Nori, or you might be looking at like O'Brien or Mikalenko from Everton to now cover up that sort of problem because that red card definitely won't get overturned. The lack of communication between him and Onana was quite laughable in the first goal. The second goal, Onana seems to have a bit of a problem with crosses at the moment, but I don't think that's his only problem as a goalkeeper. I think Gary Robinson summed this up quite well recently. He's like, right, Onana is a huge problem, but nowhere near our biggest, which
Yeah,
is like,
that is well
okay.
summarized it.
Yeah, that's not, it's just not worked out. And Andre Onana, I don't see it, we're towards the end of his second season. I don't see that working out as Manchester United's goalkeeper, but distribution wise, obviously great. Don't know how useful that is when you've got three centre backs in front of you all the time. It's just not quite the same way, unfortunately.
Exactly.
And guess what? For those who want Ruben Amorim to change his system, he did, and they won.
What did he change it to?
Boy, it was only down to 10 men, so it wasn't 3-4-3, was it? It had to be
Oh,
something else. So by enforcement, Manchester United won with a different system. So there you go. Congratulations. United, you might want to look at again 29. Fernandez obviously will appeal for, I think he'll be in most three hit teams. There's every case to look at one defensively, considering Leicester haven't scored at home since a different year, I assume.
I think
It's been
it's like, isn't it 6, 7 games they
it's
haven't
six
scored at
home
home?
games. That's the first time that's happened in Premier League history. A team hasn't
That's
scored in six home games. So, in all seriousness, the likes of a Maguire, potential from a set play and stuff for seen, possibly will appeal for free hitters in 29. I think by default as well, because there's a lot of good offensive ones from other teams, the likes of 8 Nori, Kirkes. I actually think people might look at Onana for
yeah,
29 as a bit of coverage for United defensively. Garnacho, I think, will be dependent on whether he plays against Sociedad 3 days before or not. If he didn't start, you'd think, this would be a punt that most people will overlook. You're not going to go Hoylands or Xerxes over some of the forwards we've mentioned. For Ipswich, I said it's a massive, massive blow. I can't see them getting out of this, I'm afraid. And they've got some tidy players, and do you know what? I'd say now I think they'll win the championship next year. So they've got good players
oh
already.
really? Okay.
They've already got players that are familiar with the championship. I think they bought kind of future proof in their future. So it's not all like doom and gloom. But that's such a missed opportunity. You lose to 10-man Manchester United. I don't really care if you're just Ipswich Town. With how shit they've been, you should be beating them.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll have enough to stay up, partly because Wolves just having Cunha, to be honest. But I do look at their I think they'll get points between now and the end of the season. I think there's a couple of decent ones coming up, and their end to the season's quite tidy as well. But I don't think it will be enough to keep them up.
So the problem is their next three, Palace away. What do you think they're getting now?
No, not necessarily Palace away, but like Forest, between Forest at home, Bournemouth away, Wolves at home. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick up a win in one of them.
Yeah, but over that same period, Wolves are playing Everton at home, Southampton away, West Ham at
Yeah,
home, and then playing Ipswich themselves.
and that's
And then
what.
afterwards, play Tottenham at home, Leicester at home.
Yeah,
Bloody
and
hell.
it won't be, like I said, it won't be enough to keep them up, but I do think they will get points between this period now, between that. They could then have a tricky run, I think, between 32 and 33, 34. But their end to the season's quite nice as well. I think they'll get points, it just won't be enough.
Yeah, little prediction for you. A few people want to punt Leif Davis at the end,
Yes, can see that.
or Delap.
Yeah,
Can
can
see
definitely
that,
see
yeah,
that.
but it's not in the near future. Well done, Manchester United, keeping themselves well clear of relegation drama.
On to the next one, the absolute snooze fest. That was Nottingham Forest nil, Arsenal nil. I won't go too much into Arsenal because did quite a lot on where my headspace is at in the wider frame of things on Wednesday's Clayton and
You
James
didn't
show.
get
But into
walloped, so it was a good night, wasn't
yeah, do you know what? Do you know what? Performance-wise, it was an improvement from West Ham. Like some of the basics were better and stuff, but it was everything that I think you would have expected from our goal to the final third. We were better, controlled it without really generating any real threat, and then in the final third, we looked like a team that doesn't have their front choice front three, and we looked toothless and clueless, which is exactly what I'd expected, to be honest. One tactical thing, it was interesting. Nuno's post-match presser, he spoke about, he was asked like, why didn't he play a back five, and spoke quite nicely about what Arsenal don't
properly
have it.
shut Martin Keown up,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
he?
He basically said, yeah, well, Arsenal don't have a striker, so there's no need to have that extra body there. But just thinking, it was interesting. West Ham played a back five the week before
Yeah, I thought
successfully.
he'd go back five. Yeah,
Yeah, and looking ahead, we've got Man United next. They'll probably play a back five, and do you know what? In the
do you
home,
mean probably?
they will
As if
they
Amrim's gonna go, oh fuck it, it's Arsenal.
they they
I'm gonna go 2-4-4.
they will play a back five, and in the home game against them, in the first half, Man United structurally were quite impressive with how they nullified Arsenal, and that's when we had better attackers available. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we cope. But yeah, on this game, I mean, Forest didn't really generate anything. Their only main threat came from Hudson-Odoi on the right, where he gave Calafiori the run around a couple of times, and Calafiori picked up an early yellow card and
So
then
he
got
played right and Alanga played left.
yes.
Okay.
And yeah, Calafiori got a very early yellow, and as a result, went off at half time. But he was our main goal threat. He was in very advanced. I mean, from the period he played earlier in the season, he looked like quite an aggressive fullback anyway. And when I say aggressive, I mean in his attacking intent, not like he's physically aggressive. But he was very attacking in this game, and he found himself in a position where he hit the post. He was quite often in the front line when we were attacking, but nothing to take away in terms of attacking encouragement from Arsenal from this game. It's one of them where the game could have kept, you know, those cliches. We could have played for another 2 hours, we wouldn't have scored. That's how I kind of felt, to be honest. And there is real concerns in terms of what we do to actually generate threat and goals until we get Saka back. And to be honest, Arteta was asked about Martinelli and Saka, and he said it's unlikely before the international break, but Martinelli is slightly ahead of Saka. So yeah, real concerns there attacking wise, but defensively we looked a little bit better. We looked more structured, which we looked well off it in all areas against West Ham. So that was a slight encouragement. And yeah, from Forest, they didn't really create anything, to be honest. Like I said, their main threat came from Hudson-Odoi on the right. There was a chance for Chris Wood where Saliba like misjudged a cross. He got something on it, but then made a really good tackle on Wood. But yeah, it was a naff game. There's not much to read into it, I don't think.
Okay. Forest summary, not kind of anything new from what we've spoken about in the past. I think that's interesting. Hudson-Odoi and Alanga switch sides. I didn't realise that. I can't give you a good answer for why that might have happened. That's intriguing. I think the likes of Elanga. might appeal in 29 again if you're trying to downgrade like a Palmer to an Elanga to get you like an Isak to a Haaland. It's not quite right money wise, but you get the point that I'm making. The Forest ones would appeal because the enablers aren't great, I think, in 29, and you'll be drawn to Forest playing Ipswich. Okay, I want to pump one of them. I think Gibbs White might be one that's kind of an outsider differential punt for free hitters in that week as well. Wood is going to be part of a free hit team. Most will want to go a defensive one, be it sales, whatever. Williams, I think we're beyond the point of being concerned about it anymore. I've said that for a few weeks now. So if people want to go there as the cheaper way in, that's fine. Milenkovic is obviously the one that has the greatest ability to smash you out the 15-pointer basis. I think Milenkovic would probably be quite popular for free hitters. For yourselves, you want an Arsenal defensive one in 29, I think, still, because defensively it's still solid as. Calafiori would be punty, despite what you've just said, because it could easily be Calafiori, Lewis Skelly. You've got Champions League in the midweek before. There's potential impacts of that. But yeah, you'd still be tempted by at least one, if not two, going into that week. I guess more the point is, what would you say to someone on some of the offensive guys? So Nwaneri, a few have gone to, and obviously gone through as an eight for tackle, you can bench. Is that what you're doing? You're just leaving it?
Yeah, I don't think you sell it right, especially at that value. But for anyone that isn't on Arsenal attack, looking and considering for 29, I wouldn't bother personally.
No, I'm in agreement with you at the moment. What about those who gambled? A few would have gambled and say Trossard, and you would be looking for, well, he's playing for me in 29. Like if you're not free hitting, you just sack it off anyway, or do you hold him in? I mean, it's Manchester United next.
Ugh,
It's
that's a
fine, isn't
tricky
it?
one. Well, I don't know. Honestly, this sounds so bonkers, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's another 0-0 against Man U. I don't see how we generate threat and score, and so I guess that answers the question, doesn't it? But it's one of them where that feels like, with everything going on at the minute in terms of the wider landscape of FPL, that feels like an incredible luxury to be able to just take out a player that has got a fixture in 29. And I don't know. I probably wouldn't force selling it, but for anyone that's not on it, no, I would not be advising anyone to go there attacking wise.
Agreed. Um, that title was nearly done, very
It's done,
clearly.
mate. It's done.
It's as I said yesterday, it's kind of not done until the difference is points is bigger than games. And I know you're 13 behind, but technically Game Renown makes it 10, and Liverpool got 10 games to go. So for me, it's not done yet until they beat Southampton. I wonder if they'll do it. Next game, Clates.
Just one. Mate, we're gonna have to give him a fucking guard of honor at Anfield, aren't we?
um, well, if you keep doing shit, it'll be over before then. You won't have to worry about it.
Oh God, I can't deal. Yeah, on to the next game. Spurs nil, Man City 1. Do you know what? When obviously I was watching Arsenal, so I didn't watch this game, but caught the highlights. You know, the only thing I thought of is what you've said previously about Doku and Haaland's frustration to watch Doku then assist Haaland and think, oh, James was sat there watching that.
Yeah, but not only that, you know, how, like when we were about to play teams, I'm like, I don't want to kick them down when they're down because they're playing my team next. And I didn't hold back on City Monday.
Oh,
I
did you
think
not?
because
Okay.
I just wasn't consequently thinking I'm playing my team next. And I really did kill Doku on. I didn't kill him Monday, but I was like, most dribbles ever completed in a Premier League game created what? Well, the goal against your team a couple of days later, James. And actually, it wasn't the only assist he should have had because he put a great cross in for Savinho as well. So he played really well. He had good end product. I was also very critical of Pep on Monday in terms of the tactics and playing one central midfielder with how Liverpool kind of box you in there and just kind of leaving Gonzalez out to dry. Well, this time he got his tactics spot on. Unlucky for me, playing Kovacic alongside Gonzalez. They went and pressed in an aggressive 4-2-4. Absolute line of four. That off the ball was not a 4-4-2, 4-2-4. And a lot of the better teams in this league this year are pressing in this structure now, 4-2-4. So that's Doku and Savinho. That was also the right choice because if you have fast wingers who are good 1v1 take on players, please play them against my team. Don't do this defensively. He'll have enough joy going the other way, right? So you got that selection right. Haaland and Marmoush up top, with obviously the two midfielders behind, and fullbacks were very much breaks on. Nunes went in inverted at points, but not much, and we've seen him play more of an orthodox right back anyway. Vardiol played the position pretty defensive. I don't think that's anything Vardiol owners should be concerned about or should stop people going Trent to Vardiol in 29 if that's what they want to do. It feels like an obvious one for people because I do think specific setup for Tottenham. I've just played the last two games very differently. And Pep is trying to find solutions. It doesn't mean that because they've won this that it necessarily sticks. It's something that he did for Tottenham, I think, off the back of Liverpool, and the best way to try and stop Tottenham. And at half time, truthfully, Clates, it should have been about 3 up. They were
Oh wow.
they were really good, City. Yeah, really good. And I don't think we were particularly poor, but when they came forward, it felt like say old City, but you felt like they could create chances at will. I think there's times you've watched them recently, you felt, no, not at all. So we were lucky to get to half time only 1-0 down. Then by the end of the game, could make claim to say possibly should have deserved something out of it. I
Is that the
think
Sar
City
header?
I think City were deserving winners. There was other chances as well.
Oh,
Odegaard had a good chance.
yep.
Son as well had a one saved from Edison. Johnson had a header he should have done better with at a near post from a corner that he flicked over. There were quite a number of chances, very much because you kind of your typical game of two halves. And I certainly recognise that game state has a lot to do with this. I even reflect on how City played at Leicester, I think on Boxing Day, and even let Leicester have a lot of the ball against them. So I do think game state played quite a lot into that. But I also think fatigue. City, as you'll know, I regularly say, are easy to play through and play through lines. They weren't in the first half. That aggressive 4-2-4, you might remember me saying about how well Guardiola set up genuine
FA Cup.
masterclass in the FA Cup game at Tottenham last year. We couldn't even get over the halfway line.
I was watching that game. I
Oh,
remember that. Yeah.
phenomenal. Now, can't do it quite to this extent here. Why?
Rodri.
Haaland.
Oh,
There's
okay.
Haaland.
Fair
You
enough.
can't press in the same way. Now, having Marmoush's legs around him, really good. That's an energetic player. And by the way, if you are really struggling to get to Haaland and insistent on having City coverage for 29, that's one big way of saving your money, mate, is going Marmoush. He would be part of City's best 11, in my opinion. Can I
Yeah, I
guarantee
agree
you
with
he
that.
plays in 29? No. Can't guarantee you any City player plays in 29 other than probably Haaland and I'd say Kusanov. It's really good.
We didn't think we'd be saying that after his debut against
No, not
Chelsea,
after
did we?
10
But
minutes against
injuries
Chelsea.
have
But you
forced
know
that.
what? We have to get over that because it will stick in your mind. Your first impressions of a player linger and stick with you. That's quite normal, I think. You form an opinion on something. This goes into a lot of walks of life. You form an opinion on something and it sticks with you. And it's easy with Kusanov to go that opening kind of quarter of the game against Chelsea. What have they bought here? That's a nightmare. And it was. But I'd said on Monday I thought he played well on Sunday, and that was the
I
first
heard
time
he was good against
I'd,
Newcastle as well.
I'd really seen him since. I didn't see the Newcastle game. He was faultless against us, Clates.
Fair play. I mean
Very
that.
composed on the ball, and he likes defending properly. And City often don't, right? He's 5 million though. I did glance because I thought if he's 4.5, that might be interesting. Just a little bit of cover. I wouldn't be paying 5 million for it. I'd find the extra for Vardio if I wanted to do that. So City tactically, structure, really good, deserved their victory, but they tired later in the game and then they became easier to play against. They don't have, for me, the required fitness levels that you would expect of a top team in this league at the moment. Now
But
that's got new players integrating, right? So there's three Marmoush, Gonzalez, Kusanov, all new players to this. So I understand it. And they played on Sunday
do you
against the
think
best team.
so? Their fixture run till the end of the season is
He's brilliant.
nice, and with no Europe, do you think that fitness may not show as much if they're just navigating the FA Cup and the Premier League?
City should smash the rest of this season.
Yeah.
I don't really have any doubt that they'll finish top five from here because I think they've navigated things like Wednesday night would have been actually one of the more challenging games they had left. Forest away next is difficult. Then, truthfully, their run to the end of the season looks pretty clear. Arguably, toughest game left would be what Fulham away 38.
But people thinking of going there, because yeah, that fixture run is outstanding. Where would you advise to actually go?
There is, you'd already alluded to it, there is a real strong case to go Haaland over Salah for the running. And I know some people just can't be having that. And I might be one of them, by the way. My biggest problem with Haaland isn't the going him over Salah. It's almost like we already said about my forwards. I got like Cunha, Mateta, Isak. I don't have Wood. And it's I want that. I want three of them four. Now, if I put Haaland in, I'm taking one of them out, and I've also taken 8 fucking million from my budget roughly in the process of doing so. But if you think of things like the fixtures, so 29, he's the outstanding captaincy. I think it's
Yep.
clear.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you
Of
if you're going Haaland 29, you're going to captain him, aren't you? I
course.
think. Yeah.
Yep.
Brighton's not an easy game, by the way, but I think that's what you're going to do. 30, Leicester at home. He is very competitive for captaincy. Salah has Everton at home. Isak has Brentford at home. So the alternatives are also good, right? And many of us have taken him on in fixtures like this. But Leicester at home, I mean, that's arguably the best triple captaincy left in a single game week this season, considering what you said about Salah and maybe minutes against Southampton in 28. So 30 looks great. 31's United away holds no fear. But also, like Salah's at Fulham that week. That's not, it's kind of comparable. Isak is probably best captaincy 31 Leicester away. 32 Salah has West Ham at home, but you're going Isak captaincy because the double, presumably. Haaland has Palace at home. Maybe that's the toughest game they've got left. And then 33, he could double. Now, if you've got Haaland or Isak double in 33, I think any temptation to captain Salah away to Leicester goes.
Yep.
You're going to go one
Yep.
of
You go
Haaland.
one of
So
those two.
suddenly, you've got a period here where you're going genuinely 29 to 33. Am I captain Mo Salah? Now, if you own, you will. I think particularly things like Everton at home in 30. But it's Merseyside derby.
It's funny, Everton
Everton
at
have been
home,
good.
Fulham away. If I group them as two, they're not games I see Liverpool completely going off in goal scoring wise.
No, and you wouldn't want to take him on for, I think, West Ham at home and Leicester away. But if you've got players with doubles, do you wear your socks to bed or not, basically? Go for it, right? That would be my take. So, yeah, there's a case. As you'd said, take Mo out in 29, put Haaland in. I do think Marmoush it may well be worth the saving and will offer you a great alternative option. But I don't think Marmoush will be a better option than any of the other forwards I've mentioned at the similar price bracket, Isak, Mateta, Wood,
Yeah,
Cunha.
and that's the problem.
Don't. So we get drawn into this, I think, Manchester City for the sake of Manchester City. That's not saying Marmoush is a bad asset at all, by the way. And I think offers a great solution. He might even offer one for me, by the way, particularly if I do end up running through 29, because going to Harlem might just be way too difficult. And I don't know, would I favour him for captaincy in 29 over Cunha Wood?
Oh,
I'm not sure I would.
no,
Cunha at Southampton, I'm not sure.
no.
Midfielders are completely avoidable at the moment. There is a problem, I think, in game week 29 in terms of midfielders in general and how much they appeal that week. And I think people, as I said, will end up going for people like Bumo, Bowen, Fernandez, even though they're all away.
Yeah, but
Fernandez particularly obviously has a great fixture.
for me, it's the Bournemouth boys, as I said, at home in 29.
Yep, understand that. Defensively, I think Vardiol. So for me, who might well wild card in 29, I genuinely, this is not impossible. I might go none. I might wild card into 29 and go none of them. Vardio, I don't think I would go against because I'd think for the same reason I just spoke about Haaland versus Salah, I could go Vardio over Trent and now I've got an extra million in the bank.
Yep.
Haaland is cutting me off so many other great forwards across that period. But ultimately, and I keep coming back to this, if Haaland did double in 33, so if they got to the cup semi and had sort of like Everton away, Villa at home as a double, and Isak didn't double, I'm going to feel desperate to put him in
Yep. And you'll know that information
because the
possibly
other,
after the weekend.
well, we can have a clearer indication, but what I would say is it's very unlikely after this weekend that we won't still be projecting City and Villa to be in 33 because City have got Plymouth at home and Villa have got Cardiff at home.
Yeah.
So you'd need something like City to lose and then Villa get drawn like Newcastle away is the only thing that's going to change that projection for next week. So that one almost definitely stays in there, you'd think. He only needs one, right? And then if they've still got, so if Villa got like, I don't know, say they've got Fulham at home even, which is a challenging game, that projection is still isn't going to change, even if say
Yeah.
City lost to Plymouth. And City will be favourites whatever they've got, even if it's Newcastle away,
Yep.
they'll be favourites, I should imagine. So yeah, there's a consciousness of that. 33. And then obviously the deeper you go into it, into 33, and you go, City's fixtures are good, and 34, you've got the opposite problem, blank. So for someone like me without the free hit, then what? Am I switching it back up? And then I go afterwards and I go, fuck me, Haaland's got Wolves 35 and Southampton 36. And 36 could become a double if they bring the FA Cup final fixture forward.
Yeah, like it. He's gonna be in teams again. No real doubt in my mind about that, to be honest.
I think analytic crowds can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the analytic models will recommend having him. I'd be
Okay.
surprised if they don't for from 29 onwards, pretty much all the way through. Might be wrong. If it is, fair enough. Hold my hands up. I've not looked at it, but I think there will be a real surge. It's not just about 29. One of the things I really dislike about the free hit 29, I'll get him for Brighton at home and then I don't have him for Leicester at home the week after. Like, what are you
Same.
that desperate
Yeah.
for?
Be interesting to see at this stage of the season, team value wise, if what teams look like with both him and Salah, if that is doable and what
Problem
that
is,
looks like.
he makes the team look a mess.
I've not looked at any drafts with them both, to be honest.
He makes the team look a mess because there are so many other good forwards. There aren't so many other good midfielders. Other than Bumo, I mean, to be honest, Jared Bowen, I think from fantasy, has not had the greatest of seasons. Yet quite a number of us have gone there, right? Zio's gone was like 20% top 100k last night, right? Many of us have gone now. A, we're just attacking Leicester. And B, the alternatives in that midfield area haven't been kind of like great this season. Like your Odegaard, your Fernandez, you other ones in there. Madison, you can't rely on him to bloody play. None of them have been great. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put Haaland in and then what have more of these guys who ain't been great, or should back all these brilliant forwards who've been good, and some of them like Chris Wood been outscoring him anyway. Why is these great fixtures at the end any different? And Marmoush might cover him off.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all goes. Anything more from that game before we go on to the next?
Yeah, just on Super Spurs, I think kind of like second half of it played really well. We had a period in the second half where that was the most intense I'd seen us play probably since we beat Villa, which was in October, where Villa we equalised and then it was like within like that, it was like we won 4-1.
And it makes sense, right? You're getting your players back
Yeah,
and stuff now.
absolutely. There was a period, sort of 20 minutes to go, and I'm sitting there, we're losing 1-0. And I think if we score here, we're winning this. And there wouldn't have been a doubt about it, I don't think. I think they'd have probably buckled and the momentum was up. But I think from the fantasy perspective, you've seen another reason why you should just still avoid at the moment because Ange clearly has gone no Son, no Kulusevski. Spencer's been outstanding. He's he's prioritizing putting minutes in these players in the right way to get them ready for Thursday club because Thursday club is way more important at the moment. So that's a consequence to think about. Ange and Arsman 28, 3 days after Europa first leg. Consequence for the blank 29. Fulham away doesn't feel great anyway, but it's 3 days after that second leg. You cannot have a clue now who's going to play for Tottenham in game week 29 beyond the likes of Vicario. Also, I'd add, as much as I think City deserved to win, if we'd have had Solanke in that period of dominance in the second half, that'd have been really helpful. Because Matisse Tell at the moment is just not it. All I
Oh,
see
is
is
it? Okay.
I see a winger playing centre forward, and you know when that happens, sometimes players look lost.
Yeah.
All the reports I've spoken about this a lot on our Patreon pods. Everyone in Germany's like play him as a nine, right? If that's what he's going to be, even though he's 19, I can tell you that's not going to be good enough.
Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting observation.
I want to
Just,
see him play. I want to see him play wide.
do you
On
think he
that,
will when Solanke's back?
well, Solanke, there's no doubt that Solanke will be first choice when he comes back.
Yeah, no.
Let's sell it like that. And that might even be that Solanke's playing Thursday club, right? And not even in the league. That's a possibility. Yes, I would like to see him try wide because I saw him play wide left for Bayern Munich in pre-season last night and we could not live with him. And that's why I had such high hopes of him because I'd seen him rattle my team so badly previously. Wilson Odobert made his first start since God knows when. Played the
Like you
first
said, nearly
hour.
scored, didn't he?
He played really well, Wilson. What Wilson's got that the others don't have who played out there is he going to face his man up and take him on. And I scream it from the rooftops all the time. Ange wants 1v1 dribblers in wide areas. Do not be surprised if he sees a lot more minutes during the rest of this season than you might expect.
Could he be a punt for people in 29?
No,
Okay.
no, there's no reason to do that. I'm just saying it might be one that you want to keep an eye on, particularly around the period of sort of like Southampton and Wolves 31, 32. It might give you an enabling option, but reality is Tottenham will be projected to go through in Europa and they'll have Europa games in between Southampton, Wolves, and then either side, right? Tottenham really is just complete avoid until at least out of Europe. I don't think our fixtures are good enough in the running either. We're not going
Fair
to
enough.
finish top half. So it's all about Thursday club. Just complete avoid for me at the moment. Romero, Van der Ven, and Solanke. There is hope that they'll be available next Thursday in the first leg. I think Romero is beginning to look like a likely. Solanke is going to be close. I think Van der Ven's going to be the latest one. And then Richarlison, maybe 29 back in the squad, it feels like.
Getting the band back together. Final question before we move on to the next game. I know you were in the stadium. Did you get a chance to look back at the Haaland disallowed goal? Any thoughts
Oh
on that?
no, do you know what? I've not watched it again. I saw
Yeah.
it once on Wednesday night when I got home, and you couldn't tell. What I can tell you is it took way too long, and I was like, just give the goal and let me get out of the ground. Obviously, when Pape Sarr headed it over like 15 seconds later, I was like, glad, glad that we didn't. Yeah, it was difficult to tell. I wouldn't have had a problem if it was given. I suppose it was one of them. The ref definitely gave it on field. You then had to prove that it didn't hit him wherever they're fucking measuring it from this week. He took it. He took it well. His link play was pretty good in the first half. Actually, Haaland played fine. Could have got more in all seriousness. But then everyone's going to get chance against my team. If you're on number 9, we've been over this so many times.
Yeah. All right, on to the final couple games. Liverpool 2, Newcastle nil. No Isaac. Was that legit? Is that cup final mind games?
I think he's legit, and he's already done his presser this morning and said, like, he's doubtful for the weekend. It seemed like it was a late call, like he wasn't right. I think he was at the stadium even. If it had been the cup final on Wednesday, he'd have played.
Yeah. But
I don't think there's any doubt about that. But it wasn't. And Newcastle fans will tell you, even though they're obviously competing for Champions League place, the desperation of that football club to win a trophy, they will tell you that Sunday against Brighton is more important. Never mind thinking about the final in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I did think he'd do something different to try and throw Liverpool anyway. Looks like Anthony Gordon played a more central role and Joe Willock played a wider left role. I'm not surprised that something weird happened. I imagine Isak will probably play on Sunday, is my take.
it sounded like this game was fairly routine for Liverpool, to be honest. I've even seen some Newcastle fans saying they were quite disappointed with their performance, and it did feel like there was one eye on the weekend coming up and stuff. But yeah, it sounded like it was very routine for Liverpool.
Well, they are making the routine fairly routine in
Yeah.
most circumstances, particularly obviously in games at Anfield, you always expect them to win. Their home fixtures left, bar pretty much the last two, yourselves and Palace, look like foregone conclusions, really. Sorry, Evertonians, but Everton will normally get beat at Anfield. Southampton, Everton, West Ham, Tottenham. So there you go. I'm digging my team out as well. Next 4 at home in the league. Fulham away is a challenge, 31. Might even be the most difficult game we've got left. But I feel like historically, I've seen Fulham get to this stage of the season and not put in good showings at home. I think of you winning their 3-0 very easy. Not this year, the year before. You were not even last year because you lost their New Year's
Mate,
Eve
that
last year.
was,
The
yeah,
year
I think that was the
before,
22-23
yeah,
year.
the year before you were 3-0 up in about 25
Yeah.
minutes. It was so easy. And I'm sure I've seen Liverpool go there and win very routinely as well late in the season. I think they won a 3-1, I want to say, similar period last season. Leicester away 33. You can't see them not winning it now anyway. I think the conversation here on Liverpool is just purely about the minutes in 28 and predicting that. And I think it's only something we can really look at after the PSG first leg and say with confidence. But what I would add on is what I'd said earlier in the podcast is I think the fact that Liverpool don't play this weekend, I think this fretting about Trent and Salah, I think they'll play.
Yeah, me too.
And I think particularly in Trent's case, it will be managed.
I just
So
think
once
that,
the game's won, he'll come off early.
yeah, me too. I think the management of minutes will be in your Gakpos, Jotas, Nunes more than the Trent and Salahs, to be honest.
The from the second leg to PSG to the final against Newcastle was 5 days. So that's fine. Newcastle got a 6 day turnaround. Liverpool got a 5 day turnaround. So both focus in their own way for the final. That's fine. You're literally just looking at that Wednesday to Tuesday period. PSG, Southampton, PSG. The surrounding around it does not matter. And we've seen that recently where Liverpool, I kept speaking about, they'll block them, right? It's Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday. It was like that for a while. And we were looking at Robertson won't play 3 times in a week, and he did. Right. When Robertson's doing that, you've got Shimikas in the squad. I don't really think you should have too many concerns about Trent and Salah.
Yep, bang on the money.
That's my take at the moment. I wouldn't necessarily go and buy these guys, but you've either already got them, or you haven't. You're not committing to Trent to suddenly buy now if you've not been on. And with that in mind, we probably don't go and buy any Liverpool player for 28, even if you've only got two, like I have. I've got no thoughts to go, oh, I'm gonna put Diaz in. I would shout him out though because it sounds like he was particularly good on Wednesday night. There is a consequence of that for those who still own Gakpo. Now, with that one, Gakpo say coming in for Diaz or Jota for 28. Now, that's more likely, isn't it? So
Yeah,
if you're on Gakpo, I think you're very tempted to hold, and you should make a judgment call after the first leg against PSG on how you feel. And then, irrespective, I think after that, you should probably bin.
yeah.
Because it'll just be, as we mentioned, the amount of forwards that are of interest over the period once you get into 29 and beyond. For Newcastle, people will hold based on value, the likes of Isak Hall. Otherwise, anything else is pretty much a sell, I think.
Right, well, I don't know. Didn't you say there could be a double double for them?
Yeah, but I think you come back to it. The other thing I keep thinking is I don't want to carry three of them. So I've sold Gordon for Bowen this week. I do want to keep Hall and Isak, I think, carrying through 29, maybe even as part of the wild card, so they're set. Hall the best defensive one, Isak speaks for itself. I obviously, if the kind of the Glasner run of the fixtures doesn't work out well, and there's no bonuses, and it's only one double, then I'm looking at Howell's possible
Yeah,
double
true.
double and Leicester. So in my mind, I know I'm probably not making the decision on which manager I go with in 31 till I actually get there and can see the table. And obviously, because of me not having a free hit, I don't want to be going chaining the manager every week. I need the transfers for other things. So I probably want to put one in that I stick with. There's every chance then that's going to be Eddie Howe, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that
So
makes sense.
the other people might feel in a similar way. I don't think, in any case, I don't think you want to have treble Newcastle at this point, considering the blank 29. If you're free hitting in 30 and you've held, say, Gordon, free hitting 29, and you want to get to 30 still with your free Newcastle, Gordon, Hall, Isak, or whatever you've got, or Murphy maybe, then yeah, fine. They probably appeal more for the free hit 29 crowd.
Fair play. Final game of the game week was last night, and it sounded like an absolute thriller. It was West Ham 2, Leicester nil. The boss Sudge tweeted Leicester had 10 shots. He doesn't remember any of them, and he said that was a really easy game of football.
You want to see if we've got any Twitter questions?
Do you know what? I've actually just been scrolling through. I mean, was there literally nothing to take away from this? I mean, the Bowen goal, it's been registered as an own goal.
Yeah, it's the right decision. I mean, it's crossing it
For people that are unsure, why is that the right decision?
because he weren't going in.
You think he was crossing it, yeah?
Well, no, no, it wasn't going in.
Okay.
So yeah, it was either give him the assist or give him nothing. And I say that as a Bowen owner. So yeah, there was one angle you could see. It was like, yeah, that's going across the 6 yard box. So he's created the own goal by the attempted cross. Under that circumstance, I think he gets it, which is a little bit of debate if maybe Justin might have got a touch on the line. Therefore, because the double touch, maybe you get nothing. But yeah, I think that was probably the right call.
If Ferguson didn't shit the bed at the end, Bowen would have had an
Yeah,
assist.
he would have had another one. Yeah, so that's okay. That's fine. I think he would be the only West Ham one that you particularly wanted to look at the moment. Newcastle at home, Everton away, Wolves away. You know, if you need a midfielder in that bracket over the next 3 game weeks, that's fine. Kudos has only scored 3 league goals this season, so wouldn't be attacking that. If you want a defensive one, someone was asking me yesterday about defenders below 4.5 for like the next 3 game weeks. And I kind of struggled to, he doesn't feel great, but I struggled to come up with an answer better than Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but cheaper than 4.5.
How
Couldn't
much
think
is
of
eight
many
Nori? Is
just for the
he
next 3 weeks. More, mate, it's like four
okay?
seven. I'd have said Agbadu if he was available.
Yeah.
None of the other Wolves ones. We want to go like Matt Doherty and stuff.
Nah.
I suppose it's just for 3 weeks. I suppose you could go something like that.
Oh, I think I'd still
Shite though,
go
isn't it?
West Ham.
Semedo,
Yeah.
what price is Nelson Semedo?
That's a good question. Let
Nico's
me have a
cousin.
look.
Shout out, brother.
He is 4.5 on the dot.
Yeah, so no. Someone was specifically asking cheaper than
Below,
4.5.
yeah.
Yeah, I think probably Wan-Bissaka. Goalkeepers I'd avoid. Ariola only kept a clean sheet because it was his birthday, which has been
It
a
was,
theme on our Slack this week about players doing well on their
wasn't it
birthdays.
Souček's birthday?
And it was Thomas Souček's birthday as well. Did you see that his comment afterwards about why he didn't do his normal celebration? I thought it was
No.
that's really out the box thinking of a professional player because I don't think anybody would have thought about it. But he does like the helicopter, doesn't he?
Right.
And he said because he was playing Leicester, and obviously what happened with the
Oh,
chairman,
fair play
out of
to him.
respect to them, he if he knew that if he scored, he wasn't going to do it. And
That's
I
really
thought,
nice.
wow,
Yeah,
fair, yeah, isn't it? Isn't it? I don't think anyone would have like put
mate.
the accusation because they'd been like, that's what he does every
I wouldn't
week.
have
Like,
even put two and two together on
no,
that.
no chance. But that
Fair
shows you
play to him.
footballers can think about the wider picture sometimes as well. Leicester, wow. I've seen my team take some slackings this year, but I don't think I've seen them in any game not try and win a game of football. And I've realised there's a quality difference between my team and their team. That was,
They
yeah,
are so poor, aren't they?
properly abject. To the extent I'm telling you, if they'd have played Southampton last night, they would have lost. They had no interest in that game. You can accept that they went there with a mindset of make the game difficult. It's an away game, but also you're chasing points. And I think you're looking at West Ham, whether it's home or away, and thinking this is a really good opportunity. They concede one shit goal, they concede two shit goals. West Ham had just routinely strolled through the football match. West Ham had to do nothing really to get in that position. I mean, Such said Leicester had 10 shots. West Ham only had eight. It's not like
Oh,
West Ham battered down the door, but Leicester's efforts to change that from 2-0 down was just non existent. You knew that you could have just pissed off like within 5 minutes of the second half and gone, Leicester ain't scoring.
I reckon a lot of the mindset around that club at the minute is just get through this season. It's done. Like they're probably already thinking ahead to next season and rebuilding and what their pre-season's looking like to try get themselves back up.
The fixtures are bad as well.
Yep.
I think they've got some decent players in there actually. But like the calls for, I know Leicester fans really wanted like Buonanotte to play last night. Yeah, it was all a bit weak and timid. It wasn't great at all. I would not be surprised if they change manager now.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because
Well,
that was that bad last night. That, as a football fan, all you can ever ask, you spoke about this on Wednesday, give me the shit to believe in. We might miss our targets, but give me something I can support and get behind, right? If you're 19th in this Premier League, you're getting beat most weeks as it is, but at least give the support something to believe in.
are their
They've
names doing the rounds?
they've lost what 10 of 11
Sounds about right.
and what failed to score, I think, in maybe eight of them. Like, what signs are you seeing that Van Nistelrooy is going to be your guy?
Yeah, nothing to be
What
honest.
what are you seeing? I see more
Yeah.
from Juric. I mean this seriously.
No, me too. I agree.
And I'm not saying they should definitely sack him because if they think, right, you know what, this is the guy we've identified, we think he'd be great for us in the championship, blah, 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 crack on, be my guest. But I don't want to sit here and say they've got to sack him. But that performance last night was a sackable offence, in my opinion. It was that bad.
Wow. Okay.
So I would not be surprised if they change. And what do they change to? Do they go, who can get us out of trouble? What about Cooper? Is he available? Like Adam Pritchard made an absolutely brilliant comment when he come on COTC and we did Leicester v Arsenal a few weeks ago. He said essentially Leicester have done the season the wrong way round.
Yeah, they
They should
have.
have done pre-season and appointed someone like Van Nistelrooy, who you might say like is a project manager, whatever. And then okay, didn't work. Right now, let's get Cooper to firefight and get us out of this. They've done the season in reverse,
Yeah,
basically.
that is a great comment.
Spot on.
This is the
Yeah,
thing, and you
really
you
spot
look
on.
at the fixtures in terms of like what you described last night. That's West Ham. You look at some of the fixtures coming up. It's only going to get worse before the fixtures on paper look okay to the end of the season. So yeah, it's not looking good.
The lack of effort that they put in off the ball and the way Chelsea manipulate and move players around. I know Chelsea aren't in the best of form at the moment, but they'll have similar fun against Leicester to what they had against Southampton. So if you want to go cold again, go cold. Any questions, Clates?
So I'm only on Twitter on social media. I'm not on Blue Sky, so I don't know about that side of
I'll
things.
look through Blue Sky. We've got anything on
Sure.
Twitter?
We've covered quite a lot of them from the fantasy angle. Let's have a look. There's one from our good friend Ian Parrin on Twitter who says, with the title and relegation possibly decided in April, plus City now getting back into the top four, by which game week in May will fantasy football overtake Champions League qualification to be the only game in town?
Yeah, let's hope the kind of the race for the European spot stays. It looks great at the moment. Like you couldn't even discount, I think, Brentford. I think, who are 11th. I don't think you could discount them. I think the fixtures are too
Yeah.
difficult, but you couldn't discount them in terms of having a chance of qualifying for Europe. That gap between what Forest and Brentford's how many points?
Forest to Brentford. So Forest are on 48 and Brentford are on 38. 10 points.
All right, well, if you put a run together, I'm not saying Brentford would catch Forest, definitely not, but there's plenty in between to catch. Plenty. It's different to just looking at Arsenal and their difference, just trying to catch one team. Like, there's teams that Brentford can leapfrog there, no doubt about it. So, yeah, they're in contention. I think Palace too, probably after the Ipswich Southampton games, I think they're probably the fixtures are too tough to get in contention, qualifying for Europe, but very capable side. Yeah, let's hope European places stays interesting because he very much does look like top and the bottom three will be done. I can't get away from them Wolves fixtures versus Ipswich. And I did think, because I knew at half time, obviously at half time at Spurs, I had a look on my phone and it actually came up that Ipswich had equalised to make it 2-2 while I was looking at it. And obviously I seen United down to 10 men as well. And I'm thinking, you've got to win. And
This
at
is
that
it.
point, I'm thinking they will win. So then to come out of Old Trafford being shite, man.
Mate, we covered almost all of the questions. But a
It's the
nice
same blue
segue.
sky.
I've a nice segue, as you said you were checking on your phone. Luke Durnin. Hi guys, continuing from Wednesday's pod, could a reason for the lack of atmosphere in football stadiums be due to phone usage during games? Seems like every time a club plays their anthem, people are recording other people recording and not singing. Thanks, guys.
There's a guy in front of me who's getting the scores out all the time
Yeah.
at Spurs. Could have stayed at home and watched soccer Saturday if you really wanted. And he always leaves like 10 minutes ago as well.
It's a good point what Luke says about people recording the anthems and stuff. I see that a lot at Arsenal as well, and I'm just I don't know, each to their own. And I do think that is a factor though. Yeah, I think there is a lot more people kind of on their phones and stuff at football that I've picked up on as well.
People want to be connected. Now, it's the kind of era we're in, maybe even more so for us being in London, because I've got to know the news all the time. I've got to know everything. People don't want to be out of touch with anything information wise, feel like they're missing something. For me, when I'm at Tottenham, the only thing I think about is Tottenham. Half time, I have a look at the scores. I have a look at the scores at
Me
half time.
too.
I ain't
And
looking
that,
during the game.
yeah, to be honest, to the point where when I go to Arsenal, I love being disconnected from everything and just like tunnel vision on that's my day at the football and at Arsenal. Like, so yeah, I don't really relate to that
But
personally,
the average
but
person does want to know, oh, is my captain Salah scored at
yeah.
Anfield and stuff like that. That's fine. It's how people are. But yes, it's possibly playing a little bit of influence. Before we finish, I'll just run through next week because it's pretty planned in. I don't know if I'm going to be in the Netherlands yet. I suspect not, but at the time of recording, I don't know. Monday, very different clash of correspondence for you. Luton versus Burnley with Dan Ashby and Jack Toner. Luton are in danger of falling through another division. Burnley obviously in contention to go up and have only conceded, unbelievably, 9 goals in the championship this season. I need to find out how that's been happening. Chip strategy will be Tuesday. Clayton and I'll do Clayton James show Wednesday. Premier League clash of correspondence Thursday. Very importantly, Wolves versus Everton with Bradley Parker and Sean Norton. Ask James to be on Friday at some point, but it could be in the late in the evening if I'm coming back from the Netherlands. I don't anticipate doing so. The deadline for Gameweek 28 is obviously Saturday lunchtime. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. As usual, a full week of additional content there as well.
Lovely stuff. Thanks as always to everyone supporting the show. If you're watching on YouTube, drop the stream a like. You know what to do. Share the news with everyone. And yeah, we'll be back next week. The schedule, as James said. Thanks again for all the support. Thanks for the questions. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Play it your way, but after the weekend. Cue music, please. Man child.